Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be talking about three altcoins, technically, that we believe are about to start their next move to the upside. We're going to start the video off by looking back at 2019 and how we saw we're going to use Ethereum as an example. The main altcoin back then actually bottom out. We're going to show you the similarities with these three altcoins, although it's not specific to these three altcoins. Many altcoins right now look similar, and you guys can go away and apply that. And then we're going to be looking at technically why these altcoins may have come to the end of their retracement and may now be seeing or setting up for some significant upside to the tune of potentially hundreds of percent. We actually are going to be looking at Solana, which did pre 150% pump, which we were very much on the ball with. A similar thing to what these altcoins are doing today, and you know, fulfilling a pattern that they may have broken out of, that is likely going to lead to upside. And if you guys want to know why we are broadly bullish on the markets and have decided to be bullish on the markets after being out of the markets for 2022, back in at the start of 2023, then please do subscribe to the channel and keep up to date with my daily market updates. We give a broader context of things. We also look at the macro markets. You know, we've got macro right the way down to micro in regards to technicals and everything in between. But this is going to be a video specifically about three altcoins that I think are going to do very well. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys very well in the short term. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys why I think that is. So the first thing that I want to do is go over and just reiterate the fact that Bitcoin is still the tide that rises and sinks all ships. And Bitcoin has been doing very well. It's been largely leading the pack, very similar to what it has done in previous cycles. Now, I really want to focus on 2000 and sort of the end of 2018 going into 2020, obviously the March 2020 spill. An initial pump that's then met by a retracement. And you can see this into a breakout. Your altcoins, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to be showing you are here. Now, this, of course, was a event that took place that was predicted by the yield curve. We do have a yield curve inversion that is predicting another crash. Our theory on this is, though, that it comes a lot later on down the line. So we actually think there's potentially going to be a full Bitcoin cycle theory play out before you get this crash and recession. And this is how we fundamentally disagreed with the bears on essentially timing. You know, people have been calling for a crash. It's our assessment based on the historic effect of rates. You know, there's a lagged effect with them, that this crash isn't going to come until later on. It typically doesn't occur when everyone's calling for it. And also, historically, every time they've upped interest rates, you don't need to take my word for it, please go and do the research, the markets have actually rallied on that into a crash. So i.e. 2006 into 2008, you know, 1990s into the 2000s with the dot-com crash, etc., etc. So this is really what we're going to be focusing on, and we're going to be applying that to where altcoins are today. And actually, altcoins look a lot more similar to Bitcoin actually when it was smaller here in regards to a potential double bottom. This is very textbook double bottom scenario. Breakout into continuation. Your altcoins are essentially here, and we're going to be highlighting three that have already shown a lot of strength. Let's just show you that on Ethereum. Ethereum is probably a better example of altcoins and where they are today. You know, you can see very, very similar structure really across the board. So very common that you'll have an initial pump, you'll retrace a lot of that pump. Some people call it a 1-2 setup. Some people call it the first 1-2 wave into the 3, 4, and 5. This event here, I believe if you didn't have that, the bull market would have been well and truly underway, regardless of all the printing. And I know that sounds like a very bold statement, but you can see initial rally, you retrace a lot of it into an explosive breakout. And we're going to get into three altcoins. First of all, we're going to start off with Solana, which was a coin that we were pretty heavily monitoring in regards to, and actually looking to trade in regards to this retracement coming to an end. We were identifying a falling wedge with three impulses in it. And you can see you have three impulses within this wedge. You then break out, put in a higher high, you break this market structure. And then for the likes of Solana, from its low, today it's up 140%. these altcoins that we're about to dive into are, in my opinion, likely going to do a similar thing. And let's just relate that to what we said before we move on to these to really set the tone in regards to you have an initial rally. You then get that retracement, however you want to draw it, whether you want to draw this as the retracement and the end of the rally, and then you start that next leg up. This is often how markets bottom. And one thing you guys should be paying attention to when you're choosing your altcoins is look at what's shown strength. We did call Solana as a strong swimmer, and that we had expected that based on the initial rally that it had at the start of the year to continue. And you're going to get your stronger altcoins are going to be the ones that have already shown strength. So not the ones that have gone on and put in a marginally lower low when some like Solana have actually maintained that low, rallied off it. A lot of altcoins are only just now having that initial rally, whereas the ones that have already had it are the ones that insiders have likely front ran. So the first altcoin that we are going to be looking at is the Verity. Very interesting what this project is doing in regards to, we have done a video on it, kind of solving ads with the blockchain. It's a massive industry, ads on the internet. And actually it's an industry that needs fixing because a lot of these companies actually got paybacks because when they paid their own independent analyzers to go in and look at where the ads were being, was the money being well spent, they found that a lot of the ads were used on bots, and thus the companies that provided the ads, like Google, actually gave them a portion of their money back. And something like Verity incorporates blockchain to essentially solve this problem with verification on the blockchain. Blockchain's huge. Blockchain is massive in all. It's going to be massive in all industries, and certainly things like AI and verification. How do we prevent deep fakes? How do we reliably verify something where we can do all that in an anonymous fashion on the blockchain? And Verity have applied that to the ad world, and I think they're going to do very well as a result of it. This is an extremely small altcoin, ladies and gentlemen, so always accept the risks that come with that. It currently sits at a $63 million market cap. Still got pretty low volume. And let's dive into the chart. For anybody who's wondering where we're getting these feeds from, this is allincrypto.com, which is my website. We are essentially trying to become a better coin market cap, offering you a load of features that you guys can use totally for free. So let's dive into VRA. Let's look at what we have happening. So you had an initial rally from the start of the year that produced a 455% rally. Now that is strength. You had a lot of other altcoins that got an initial rally and then went on and put in lows, whereas this actually held its lows in a very similar fashion to what we saw in the prior bear market, or the bear come bull of 2019, 2018. So you've had this initial rally. What have we had happen since then? Why is it that we're calling for short-term upside? Well, it's essentially because of this pattern here that we believe you have now broken out of in a similar fashion to what Solana did. You can see you're thrashing out the lows here. So you've got marginally lower lows. You've got a double bottom. We'll cover it all very, very quickly. So initially, straight off the bat, you do have what we assess is a falling wedge pattern. Now, I don't want to go too much into detail. We are planning on releasing courses on patterns, but you can see again your very common trait of 3 impulses. And very commonly, when you're looking at a falling wedge or a pattern that essentially is a narrowing pattern, what is a restriction in volatility that you expand out of. And you have seen that now for Verity, and we very much expect this to continue. So you had a couple of good signs pre-break here, like thrashing out marginally lower lows. This essentially, if this is that 1-2 setup, like it's very common, and we've seen strength come in, is now the start of something very similar to the likes of what we saw with Solana. Falling wedge into a break, thrashing out your lows. You've quickly deviated on support up into continuation. So you've seen also with Verity this initial leg, a pullback, and now you're seeing a similar thing to where you are here. And we expect a real implosion in this to previous highs and above. So that's what we're essentially looking at here for Verity, in my opinion, is you are going to run this high, and you have now started the next leg, and this is largely confirming it. If we want to draw a double bottom, so we're going to get very messy here, guys. Our technical analysis style is not traditional. You know, or it's actually very traditional. We don't use all these sort of weird and wonderful indicators that you see many other people do. We're very traditional in our technical analysis style, but perhaps not traditional in regards to a lot of what you see on YouTube. So you could essentially say that this is a double bottom. Pretty perfect double bottom, actually, that is likely going to predict you a target from point of break all the way up to here. So we're essentially, based on that, predicting at least a run of 51%. And actually, this pattern is likely going to completely take the price and engulf this prior high and see further continuation. That's what's very, very likely in my opinion. You can see actually where you're consolidating right here is at the point of where you slip down. You will have very likely thin volume ahead of you. So this could become very explosive. Yeah, you can see the real lack of volume here. This is an altcoin, in our opinion, that's ready to lock and load, guys. In that 1-2 kind of fashion, you've had a falling wedge that you've now broken out of. Get ready for continuation to the upside. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to use our completely free service and check the prices and charts, do come over to our website, navigate your way to show all. You'll get essentially a better version of CoinMarketCap. You can favorite these. So if you want to find VRA, come here and, of course, click that to your favorites. So VRA is altcoin number 1. Let's move on to altcoin number 2. And that is, of course, Filecoin. Now, Filecoin is a cryptocurrency that we are a massive fan of. Data in the Web 2 world is absolutely huge, and data in the Web 3 world is going to be just as big. How many of you guys knew out there that most NFTs out there do not exist on the blockchain? They exist on centralized data providers like Google and Amazon. Most NFTs out there. Filecoin is a decentralized data solution that uses something called the interplanetary filing system, which essentially decentralizes and allows anyone to provide data in a decentralized, verifiable, and autonomous manner that is completely revolutionizing the entire data industry. They are pretty much used by everyone in the crypto space, and I know that firsthand from talking with many projects. And this is a project, again, that I believe is ready to rock and roll. Now, this hasn't shown as much strength as the like of Verity, but it's shown a lot of strength in comparison with other altcoins that have gone on and put in new lows. So straight off the back, we have a double bottom forming. This is a very nice structure where you have this kind of nice rounded bottom into upside. We're going to be diving down the time frames, but again, you've had your initial one into a really deep retracement, getting everyone super bearish. Now you're setting up for that leapfrog. And do go and watch our daily market updates, guys, because they will give you broader context on why we are bullish on the markets, not just based off crypto, based on everything. Remember, if you look at Ethereum as an example, big impulse into a retracement. You know, you look at Bitcoin here, very, very similar. This is essentially setting up for Filecoin today. Ladies and gentlemen, my bet is you're going to have a bullish divergence on here. Also, you do indeed. In fact, you've had one going for quite a while. You're also starting to see volume spikes coming back in and the volume really pick up to the upside. Let's drop down the time frames and do exactly what we did for VRA and do the same thing here. So you've had your initial pump where the price went all the way up, nearly 300%. That's showing you strength. That is going to repeat again, ladies and gentlemen. And you've had a sort of wedge-like structure. It's not really perfect. However, are there 3 impulses in here? Yes, there are. And what do we have happening? Constriction in volatility into a break. If we go down even further on the time frames, you will see head and shoulders patterns playing out here. Very likely. Or not really. More of a double bottom scenario that will probably give you a target up here, which we'll just quickly do. So we're going to remove that. We're now on the smaller time frames. We're not going to give you guys targets because we're not encouraging people necessarily to trade this or how to position stops and stuff like that. You want to find out more about that, please do consider becoming a Patreon. We do have a double bottom scenario here with a breakout. Very important also that the breakout is on volume. So you can see that. This is going to give you, take it from the bottom to the top, a target up here, which is where you're running into resistance. You're now running into resistance. You've rejected from it. You've come up, already showing strength. There's a lot of strength here after potentially breaking out of a similar kind of falling wedge structure. So this is likely destined for further continuation. So Filecoin, for all intensive purposes, looks good. It's had that initial rally. It's shown you its strength. It's basing out once more, potentially in a falling wedge-like pattern, ready for that next leg of the upside. The falling wedge has seen 3 impulses, ready for that next up leg. You can see a nice little bottom here. It's not going to be straight up. You're going to get choppy, but ultimately we think this is destined for further upside continuation. You can also see on the broader picture, to couple in with that falling wedge, you are forming very much so a double bottom on the broader time frame as well. You've got that nice higher right butt cheek, likely setting you up for further continuation. I mean, this is going to be just to project a target. Setting you up back here, you'll likely do something like this, where this will become a right shoulder with this as a neckline. This will become a head that has a double bottom in it. The target that we've got is likely going to run you here. You'll do something like that. Obviously, you want to hope and make sure this is smaller. That'll be a good confluence. And then you'll get a broader forecasting here, potential upside target, which is likely going to run you back into where you really started this bear market. So that's how we're kind of envisioning it. And what we're really focusing on is these coins, in my opinion, have now turned. There's structure to suggest that, and we're just sort of forward guiding. You want to find out and get on board and learn what we're doing here. You'll also have very thin volume. Yep. So you'll cut through this. So we're not giving this as a price prediction. We're just saying these coins have turned and are likely going to see a similar sort of thing to what we saw with Solana. So altcoin number 1 was VRA. Altcoin number 2 is Filecoin. Let's move on now to altcoin number 3, which is Quant. Quant Network, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is not a blockchain or a DAG or anything of the sort. It's essentially a system that provides an API that allows people... you've got the crypto space here, and then you've got Quant's network, Quant's overledger system here. And what it does is it essentially provides an API which allows anybody, small to medium enterprises, institutions, they've worked with the Bank of England and everyone in between, to access the entire crypto space in a kind of standardized way. It's very, very interesting. Quant could almost be comparable to search engines in regards to the internet was very fragmented, and search engines kind of brought it all together and provided you one place you could gain access and use the internet. Quant Network is, in my opinion, kind of similar. And let's look at what we're seeing for Quant Network. So Quant Network's been a particularly strong crypto. You can see when most of the coins were going on and putting in new lows, Quant's already shown you its strength, and it's had a pretty deep retracement since then. However, and we've actually covered this previously, it is now on the road to potential upside. And we're going to drop down the timeframes and look at that. Of course, we're going to be seeing a similar thing to what we have done previously. And that is a potential falling wedge-like structure. You're really constriction here. You put in one final low, and then you are likely looking at continuation. We'll go back to the weekly and see if there's actually a deviation, which I think... No, not really. So Quant doing a very similar thing to the others that we've seen. Is there 3 impulses in this? There are indeed. 1, 2, 1. And now you've seen your volume come in. Breaking this, you are running into a level of resistance, which essentially is going to form a bit of a neckline that you're likely going to see you know, that continuation off of. So this is historic resistance, actually. You know, you could sort of look at this as a head and shoulders. Very steep head. Into what could turn out to be a head and shoulders, giving you potentially a predicted upside running into these levels up here. And this is how this bottoms and reverts. You know, you see this all the time, guys. So we'll see, but this is very similar. You've had your three-wave impulsive wedge. You are now, in my opinion, likely going to start reversing and start that uptrend in the exact same manner that you did with Solana. It's shown its initial strength. It's had a deep retracement. Now it's very likely to see that upside continuation. So that is all we've got for you guys. These are 3 altcoins. Just to quickly recap, they are VRA, which is Verity, Filecoin, which goes by Phil as the ticker, and then Quant Network. Hopefully you've enjoyed this more of a technical update. Hopefully we provided some good insight technically to why we think these coins are ready to turn. You know, they've had that initial pump. They've retraced a lot of it. We're now at the point of when that retracement now turns into continuation. All I've got for you guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.